Hello, everyone. My name is Austin Belzer, and welcome back to the Austin B Media Podcast. My guest today is a familiar voice who needs no introduction. Making her 7th appearance on the show, it is none other than Alise Chaffins. Alise, it's great to have you back.
Thank you.
Obviously, it's your 7th time. We've had some great conversations together. We talked Barbie twice, Gen V Season 2, Season 4 of The Bear, which is directly relevant to the conversation today. And then, of course, we've talked about Ted Lasso and your book, The Ted Lasso Relationship Guide, when that was coming out last year?
Almost 2 years ago, yeah.
Almost 2 years, yeah. Might have to make an addendum with Season 5.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we might have to talk about The Boys Season 5 when that's 2 weeks from now? Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah, when that finale drops. I'm excited to see that.
But given all of our history together is exactly why I wanted to talk about the special prequel episode of The Bear, Gary, which, interesting title, but we'll get into that. But for anyone new to your work, Alise, you're a member of Gallica, National Film Society Critics Association, I think Online Association of Female Film Critics,
Yep.
And a bunch of others that I'm probably not thinking of right now. But you can find her fantastic reviews on her Substack, MacGuffin or Meaning, and her insightful reviews on her YouTube channel, Alise Chaffins. But before our discussion, and since you're a regular, you know the drill. Is there a movie, show, album, anything else you've been loving lately that you want to recommend?
So probably like everyone, been listening to a lot of the new Noah Kahan. If you haven't listened, I recommend. It'll make you weepy. So it's interesting to have fall music that is summer themed, but there we go. Yeah.
Especially when the first track is titled End of August.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that. And then TV, I have to recommend, I think it's been watched and the show is over, but DTF St. Louis is just such a unique and interesting show. And I really just want everybody to watch it because I think it's just one of the most interesting, like, whodunit kind of shows I've watched in a while. I really, really enjoyed it. It's like turned around in my head a lot since the finale in particular. So yeah, that's a heavy recommend for me. It's just really, really good.
Yeah, I would also recommend that. But if I had to provide a unique recommendation, let's see, what's a TV show people haven't been watching? I feel like people have been watching Daredevil Born Again.
Yeah, which also, woo.
Yeah, I guess the thing of TV I'm watching that I don't feel like a lot of people are watching is maybe Beef Season 2. I feel like that kind of died off in the cultural lexicon once The Boys Season 5 came out, and I loved Beef Season 1. This is a completely different thing. In fact, for better or worse, in some cases, there are points in the episodes where I'm like, I don't know if this feels like the same show. I don't know if this should be its own show, but it works well enough. I love Charles Melton. He did a great job in May, December, a couple of years ago, I think, at this point.
Yeah, it might be 3. I think that was like 23. But
yeah, 23, yeah. And Kaylee Spaney was great in Alien Romulus, even though that movie, I hate that movie. On record, hating that movie because it's basically just the greatest hits of Alien, the Alien franchise. But
yeah, I actually missed that one. I didn't see it, so I'll have to check it out. Like my Kaylee Spaney is thinking Civil War because I think she was.
Yeah. Oh, that was okay. I don't think she's the greatest in that, but. And obviously Oscar Isaac finally getting work after Moon Knight. Other than that, and if I had to recommend anything Alien, don't watch Alien Romulus. Just go watch a playthrough of Alien Isolation. That's supposed to be getting a sequel sometime soon. I played it in 24, almost over a decade ago. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm anxious to see what the sequel has. But anyhow, those are my recommendations. I think right now it's on sale on PlayStation for $5 or $7.
There you go.
All the DLC. So there you go. There's 3 recommendations. I have not watched DTF St. Louis, by the way. I need to catch up on that.
It's interesting. Yeah.
So I've heard. I've got a whole spreadsheet. A few weeks ago, I asked people for TV recommendations, and now I've got about 100 TV shows to watch. So
that sounds right. Yeah.
So I've learned my lesson there. But getting into Gary, first of all, surprise, there's a new episode of The Bear in May instead of June, as is the custom. First things first, what were your initial thoughts when I blasted the group chat saying that The Bear released a standalone prequel episode centered on Mike and Richie's trip to Gary, Indiana?
Yeah, I mean, like, you mentioned I hadn't like. There's a good chance I would have missed that for a minute. Like, I mean, probably not forever. Like, I would have seen it scrolling Instagram or something. But like, oh my goodness, yeah, I was like, what? There, how can there possibly be? I honestly hadn't really thought much about The Bear at all because I hadn't really heard anything. I knew that they were making another season. I didn't realize it's like a month away from dropping. Well, a month and a half away from dropping. But like, okay, so that's also happening. I mean, it's not like a huge shock because they've been pretty consistent that, yeah, like June, July is when they drop a new season. And I knew that they had one more because I believe this is the final season coming.
Yeah, that's on the poster.
Yeah, but I was just like an extra little surprise that didn't get anything. I mean, we're not even talking about like I went and like as soon as I saw that it existed, I went and checked on Rotten Tomatoes and was like, oh, it has nobody knew. This wasn't like, oh, well, Variety and Deadline or whatever. No, like it was just a total shock. Like no reviews, no nothing. It's just out there. So yeah, shock.
Yeah, same here. I literally messaged you that the whole group chat that when I was literally just scrolling my email in the morning, and then I think it was either Variety or THR, Hollywood Reporter, said, "Surprise, new episode of The Bear." And when you read the article, that even they say, they were just opening up Disney Plus or Hulu, one of the two. Which Disney, we got to talk about the branding there. Once you close the Hulu app, you got to either get rid of the name, you got to figure something out, because I'm not going to say FX on Hulu on Disney Plus or whatever it is. I'm not saying all that anymore. But anyhow, they basically opened whoever wrote the article opened the app and said, hey, on the front page, there's a new episode, which it's interesting. If you go to the Disney Plus page, I don't know about Hulu. Ever since Hulu's kind of been integrated to Disney Plus, I just use Disney Plus. I haven't seen any exclusions there, but it's not listed under The Bear. It's listed as its own series, which is kind of interesting. It makes me wonder if there's more to this prequel episode.
I don't know, because that is how it's listed on Hulu, because that's where I watched it. But it's the same thing. It's just its own thing. It's like season 1, episode 1 is how it's listed. So yeah.
It's just interesting. I wonder if part of the whole deal, I know we talked about in season 4 when we discussed that, is season 5 wasn't going to originally happen, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it was or not, but it felt like it didn't need to.
Right. I think Christopher Storer said something about FX or Disney, somebody saying they wanted a new season to kind of fully close things out, not end on the cliffhanger that we end season 4 on. But so I'm just interested to see if FX is going to try to do more prequel stuff with The Bear. But who knows? That's just me guessing. But getting to what we can actually talk about and not pontificate on, how does the tone of this special episode, whatever we're going to call it, compare to the high anxiety atmosphere of The Bear?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because you're taking us, like I think the high anxiety of The Bear is a lot of just the high anxiety of a restaurant kitchen. And this is a lot more in the, kind of buddy road trip kind of vibe. So it still has some of that anxiety because just you're there with a person who's, pretty severely mentally ill and another person who is kind of like man-child. And so it's this interesting, like, yeah, these two characters are not great. So there's going to be some level of anxiety just because of who we're with. But yeah, it's definitely a different kind of vibe. Like this has way more that road trip. I mean, that's what it is, but it has that, feel to it. So, which is not generally a high anxiety kind of thing.
Just going to say in this situation, it's more of like, I think the closest comparison I can draft in my head to give everyone here a mental image, is like a slowly boiling pot. That's what Gary is. You know something's amiss from like the first, I don't know, minute, 2 minutes, something like that. But in the bear, the pot has been boiling for, I don't know what, 5 years. Probably not the best analogy, but I think everyone here kind of gets what I'm. If Gary is, or if the bear is kitchen nightmares, Gary is like MasterChef kids or whatever. But that's how I see the two. Because we do have I'm sure I'll get into this in spoilers, we do have a Forks-esque moment towards the end of the episode, but that's way.
Yeah.
So it's not as anxiety-inducing, even when Richie pulls out a playlist. Well, I guess in this case it was a CD, but mixtape. But it's a lot lower stress. And then I guess continuing from there, obviously this is far removed from the events of the bear. It's seeing Mikey and Richie alone together because we don't see anyone except for, I forget her name.
Yeah, Richie's wife.
Richie's wife. I keep seeing Community in my mind, but I keep wanting to say Britta, but Richie's wife.
Yeah.
Just seeing them before the events of the show change, and what you thought about them when we get those little flashbacks of them from the bear versus what we see here in Gary.
I mean, I think the character it most fleshes out, because it's the character we've seen the least, is of course Mikey. I think it's just really interesting because the other time that we see him a lot, and you mentioned this, and we could talk about it some later, is in Fishes. Like that episode is really the only other time we kind of get a sense of who Mikey is.
Yes, Fishes.
Fishes, because Forks is gorgeous. Forks is, I feel like, where we kind of get. I feel like we know so much about Richie from Forks, even more than this, but I think this does give us a pretty strong look at who Mikey is. And we see that like push-pull of like wanting to connect with people and then also pushing them away anytime there's this sense that there is a connection. And I think that, of course, is like partly just his, depression and everything. And I'm sure ultimately leads to his, his suicide. But we get more of that here, and we get like a longer time where we can kind of sit with that, because family situations are going to be a really different thing. Like a big family dinner, like in Fishes, is going to be different than a road trip with somebody who's like family adjacent. And I think we see some of those same dynamics play out here, as the episode progresses. And I really think it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I'll echo that sentiment. I think it's fantastic. My only wish would be that the prequel would have gone full send and just surprise dropped a full season of this, because I think if I have any problems with this episode, it is in the fact that like now I have more questions. I can't talk about that because that's spoilers, but like the circumstances of their road trip, I think about, okay, well, has this thing happened before, or is this just coming up now? Is this, lots of questions, more questions than I think one episode is wanting to answer.
Right.
And maybe that's for the better of the viewer, is that they don't know all the explicit details, because I think it gives a pretty good idea. It just, if I would have liked a little bit more, but because I think the thing I've been searching for whenever we flash back to Mikey and the Bears flashbacks, whether it be Fishes or any other episode, or there was a bizarre flashback in season 4. I can't remember that with Mikey. I was just like, oh, this is weirdly out of place for this season. But anyhow, I think for a long time I've been wanting to know the circumstances behind Mikey's suicide in this show, which I think has its own interesting things wrapped up in it. But I don't know. What did you want? Do you want those answers?
No. I kind of like some mystery in shows, so I don't feel like I need everything answered. But like I don't entirely disagree with you. I think it would be kind of interesting. I could see them doing like different, maybe not like a season exactly, but like vignettes more than like a series of Mikey road trips with Richie, but like I can see where we'd have like some kind of like interactions. Like, okay, well, could we see more of kind of the break between, because I don't feel like we have ever like fully explored the break between like Carmy and Mikey. Like,
Yeah.
and I like, so I could, with you, I could see them expanding on this and dropping like little hour bits as it goes. But I'll be honest, like in terms of like this, I feel like this paired with Fishes in particular, we get a pretty strong sense of who Mikey is. Like they've done a really good job of giving us, I mean, essential. And I think the episode, I believe it's called Napkins. Yeah, I think it's Napkins, where we flash back to Tina the first time that she shows up at the Bear, and we have that little interaction between her and Mikey. And I think that also gives you a sense of like Mikey's charm, and we see that more in this episode as well. In Gary, like I think we get a better sense of like how charming Mikey is and why everybody likes him so much, but then we also get that other side of him where it's like, oh, he's also kind of an asshole. And it's like, oh, okay, we get both. Okay, cool, he's this guy. And I think honestly, in terms of like anything else with him, I feel like we've kind of already, I think we have a pretty good idea of who he is. And Bernthal just does such an incredible job with his characterization of this, of Mikey. He's just incredible. And this performance in particular in Gary is, holy cow, it's really, really good. It's the kind of thing that I could see him, I don't know if this would count as like a guest spot or how like like what kind of Emmy award this might be, like what it would be nominated for, which is I'm sure why they dropped it now, since that would still make it eligible for this Emmy season. So so Bear last year for this season, but you could also throw Gary in for this thing, like it would all be in the same time. So I don't know, but Bernthal, all that to say, Bernthal is unbelievable in this, and even if you don't like the episode, you should watch it just for his performance because it is exceptional.
Yeah, I would say this is almost a great series intro. Like you could watch this and then go straight into the Bear season 1. I mean, it wouldn't be like seamless, like going from Andor season 2's finale to Rogue One. I mean, I legitimately watched Rogue One after Andor season 2, and it's pretty much seamless. I mean, there's some stuff that isn't quite seamless, but anyways. So I realized I did not answer my own question. So it changed my perspective on Mikey or Richie. I don't think so. I think I already knew enough about Mikey and Richie before this prequel episode even came out that I kind of know, Richie is a bit of a snob when it comes to movies, although he'll watch, what was it? He was watching some Western in a bar in season 4 and logged it on his Letterboxd or something, I think. Or maybe that was the joke in season 4, is that people were asking for his letterbox, and he's very particular about service. He's service above everything else. The customer is always right, that kind of thing, which we see in Forks. And then for Fishes, we see a lot of what Mikey is. He's agreeable, amenable even to his situation, whatever it is, until somebody says something to set him off. And I don't even know if that's the right phrasing. Probably not the nicest phrasing to use, but that's kind of how I experience Mikey in any flashback or this show. Because, I mean, Richie does this nice thing of making this mixtape for this trip to Gary, Indiana, which I did research, does only take 39 minutes.
Yeah, it's short.
Chicago. Because I was wondering, I was like, Indiana, that seems a little far away. But no, it is literally 39 minutes, maybe less, depending on traffic. And I did it from the Beef to just Gary. So, because that's the real life counterpart of the Bear. Anyways, Richie does this nice thing, and Mikey's just immediately dismissive of it. Just like, can't we just sit here in silence? Because it's not a party. It's just, we're going to do this thing. So, anyways, all that to say, I think we've broached on this earlier, but obviously the show explores mental health a lot. specifically when it comes to Mikey. So how does this episode approach it from an outsider point of view? Because we're mainly in Richie's point of view in this episode.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I went back and watched, after I watched, Gary went and watched the last episode of season 4, because he talks about this event in that. Richie does, about them, he and Mikey taking a road trip to do a thing for Jimmy. And yeah. Yeah, like when I saw that it happened, it like pinged. I was like, oh, I think he talked about it. So I went and I listened to the episode and or watched the finale, because yeah, he's just talking. It's when he's telling Carmy about, you know, whatever. Yeah, just the stress that he felt. Like the two of them are talking about the stress that they feel basically surrounding their relationships with Mikey, and how that like caused friction between Richie and Carmy. But anyway, all that said, like, Richie looks back on it, and when he's talking about it in the episode, he's like, it was just a really fun day, and it was just the two of us hanging out and going on this drive, doing this work trip kind of thing, half an hour kind of trip. And he's like, but I assumed that was kind of what you had with Mikey all the time, and that's what it would be like. And it was just this, so we get this idea of like Richie's kind of like selective memory, I think, that we see later, because it's not great. But aside from that, like I said, it just kind of amplifies what I think we already knew, especially from Fishes. Like, it feels like we're going to take that, like, but that's a high stress thing where you have Donna, who's got her own issues, and you've got all this family. And so there are a lot of like weird dynamics there that are very different when it's a one-on-one with a person who's not your family. And so I think they do a good job of showing, no, that's just kind of who Mikey is. It's not just this high stress situation. He's in a situation that's mostly positive. Like, there are no really bad things that happen. The only bad thing that happens, and it's not even bad at all, but is like Richie's on a time crunch. Like, that's it. So like, that's it. But the rest of it's just this like mostly fun kind of thing. So yeah, it's I think it does it fleshes out and just kind of like solidifies who Mikey is, and yeah, that he's on the struggle bus.
Yeah, I'd say that's a understatement for Mikey. Yeah, it's interesting to hear you talk about how it connects to the finale episode, because I haven't seen anything bear related in a year, despite the other than the Noah Kahan edits that I really wish people get that album out of TikTokers' hands. I really anyways, tangent aside, I think it takes an interesting approach, right? Takes the approach of, no, this is always who Mikey was. He's always kind of been, for lack of a better term, a little bit of an asshole. He pushes away people who he should hold close, and gets himself sometimes into situations that he doesn't need to be in. I'm sure there's a kinder way to put that, but it's not coming to mind right now, because I don't even think this is a spoiler. They find a group of kids playing basketball, and Mikey's first thought is to antagonize these people, not just hang out while they're waiting however long for this thing to happen.
Right.
It's always a fight with Mikey. So anyhow, I don't think it adds a lot of flavor that we don't already have, to kind of complement the question I asked earlier. But I think it does fill in a few of the blanks that I think we've been seeing from Fishes and specifically for Mikey and Richie. But I do think the time crunch angle is interesting, and I'll get into that when we get into spoilers. But I think that was the only interesting thing where I was like, okay, now we get some more insight into that whole situation, which I'm being purposely vague. I will talk about any spoilers, I promise. I think we've talked all about everything plot-wise we can without spoiling anything. So what my final questions are, what stands out about the performances to you, and what would your rating for the special be out of 5 stars?
So performance-wise, like I said, I think Bernthal I always really like him. I think he's fantastic always. So that's barely anything. But goodness, he's he's real good. It's like one of my favorite performances. I mean, I think he's really great in, Daredevil season 2, but like, wow, he's
Season 1.
season 1 rather. Yeah. He is, but goodness, he's great. I mean, I'm excited for Punisher, but yeah, this is a whole other thing. And he's fantastic. I think, I mean, Ebon's always good. Also, like, I never have issues with him. So yeah, I mean, like, it's 2 great actors doing great acting. So yeah.
So I guess side question real quick before we get to your rating. I'm assuming that's where you're going with this. But final non-spoiler question before we get to our ratings. Do you think like they were hanging out together with the Bear season 5 or something where they were filmed like together for a moment and then they were like, well, maybe we make Gary?
I wish I knew. Like, genuinely, I'm not
Same.
sure. I think yeah, I mean, I don't know. I hope that we get more information. I'll be honest, I haven't looked a whole lot to see if they've talked much about when they shot it and how it kind of came to be. I haven't really kind of looked into the, behind the scenes of it. But yeah, I'm not mad that it exists, I'll say.
Me neither.
And rating wise, I mean, I'd probably give it like 3.5, 4 stars. I don't know, depending on the day. That's kind of where I think it's a little over long. I personally think they could have cut about 15 minutes of it and like tightened it up a little bit. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't mind things that breathe. It just feels to me a little bit over long. Like I kind of lost focus some in the like front half. Like, I'll be honest, the basketball scene didn't really do it for me. Like, it's fine. I think you're right that it does show that he's just antagonistic out of the gate, so it does add that characterization. Because why, as a grown person, are you being that up in the face of kids who are like 15, 16? I mean, these are kids. They're not like adults. So yeah, it's just fascinating to see that. But beyond that, I was kind of, so 3.5, 4, somewhere in there.
Yeah, let's go 4. I think I agree about the overlongness because I kept thinking you can get this, you can get this, you can get this, and still have a really great episode. I wonder if they wanted to keep it to an hour or somewhere around there because of Emmy rules.
That would be the only thing that I could think, is that there may be some like length that it needs to be, but I don't know. I feel like I'm not sure, but it, like I said, it just felt a little long to me. That's all.
Yeah, and then to talk about performances, I know I'm kind of going backwards.
No, that's good.
Talk about performances. I think they do as well of a job as they've done. There are some cases where I do think there's some phoning it in on Ebon's part. Have you pronounced his name? Sorry for the pronunciation, but I could come up with a million more reasons about, well, he's been pretty busy lately. I mean, assuming this is September 2025 or somewhere around there.
Right.
He was probably filming Avengers Doomsday because of the thing.
Right.
Also doing press for Fantastic Four in July of that year. Well, not was it July last year? Fantastic Four? That was a kind of truck, but
yeah.
You've also got like John Bernthal doing press for Daredevil season 1, Born Again season 1, which petition. I say we just remove the subtitle Born Again, just call it Daredevil season 4, season 5.
It's fine.
And then you have Punisher Last Kill and Spider-Man Brand New Day that we're all filming around the same time.
Right.
And assuming he's not also in Avengers Doomsday, and he also was in a Broadway musical with Ebon.
Right. Yeah. I mean, my guess is that's precisely. And like, it's a pretty simple thing. So my guess is it wasn't filmed, like they probably did it in a week or so, like in terms of like the filming of it. I can't imagine it was a long shoot. Like,
80% of it's like in a car. So
exactly.
You do is just rent a car, mount the cameras where you need them to be. And obviously there's a lot more logistics than that, but
but
it's a fairly simple.
Right. This is
the Bear,
Right.
There's no like close up of a pilot.
Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't have some of the the edit. I wonder if they had a different editor for this because the editing feels different to me. Maybe not.
I am so glad you mentioned that because you know how I talked about in season 4, and I know I'm getting away from performances, but you did bring up a good point. In season 4, I would comment all the time about how there's a seamless transition between the cut of the episode to a Hulu, because Hulu from the ground up was made as an ad-supported platform, even from the early days. So you had to cut Hulu originals around those ads. Here, you don't get that same type of editing.
Right.
It's because
it does look like it's the same editor. I was just looking. Yeah, it's the same one. She just really edited it in a very different style. I shouldn't say very different, but it does not feel the same to me.
It's not as precise. Maybe that's the better term. Not looser, but less precise, because in the Bear, there's synchronized edits to things turning on. If this was an episode of the Bear, proper, we would have gotten a close-up shot of the keys turning and, the dashboard and, some kind of bokeh effect. And it would have been, anyways. Getting back to performances, I think they do a good job. I mean, not a complicated shoot. I don't really have much more to say other than that. I think if you have to pick an Emmy clip, I don't think this gets nominated. I mean, great episode, but I don't think it gets nominated. All the special episodes that have come out over the past year and a half. Mm-hmm. But if I had to pick the bathroom scene for Bernthal,
the bathroom scene,
and then I'll just say, without spoiling, the confrontation at the end of the episode for Ebon.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And you could use that same bathroom clip for a guest star slot if you needed to, but I don't think they have that for special episodes. I don't know.
I don't know.
I have not read the Emmy submission rules in a while. It's been about 4 or 5 years. So
yeah.
Anyhow, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. You ask me in a week, it'll probably be a 3. That's just how these things go, especially with TV, because I remember when I was watching Invincible season 4, which I could talk about on a podcast, but the fans, I've seen endless complaining from them, so I just decided not to review that show because they're talking about the JPEG is moving. Anyways, but my thoughts on that have shifted significantly too. But anyhow, we're not here to talk about Invincible. We're here to talk about Gary, the Bear. Is it the Bear, Gary?
I mean, it's listed under the Bear on IMDb, so
okay,
it's listed as an extra episode, but it's listed as an episode of the Bear. It's not its own thing. So yeah,
I kept looking for it on Serialized, and I still can't find it. So
yeah, so it might just be under the Bear. Yeah.
Okay. But anyways, with all that said, we're about to dive into some spoiler-filled territory. So here's a quick heads up. If you haven't seen the prequel yet and want to avoid spoilers for the Bear, Gary, all of it, skip ahead to the chapter marked Final Thoughts, or check the episode description for specific timestamps in case it's not named Final Thoughts. So with all that out of the way, if you haven't watched the episode, please stop listening. Anyway, so let's talk about the title, Gary. This is Gary. Obviously, as the name implies, it's about a road trip to Gary, Indiana, and the episode description, just clearly states that. Given that, did the change in location live up to the show's high bar for meaningful settings?
I mean, I think so. I think because, like I said, because it kind of pulls from a previous episode, I think there is meaning to it. It obviously was a meaningful trip to Richie because it's something that he brings up later. By later, I mean earlier, but whatever. Yeah. Again, yeah.
Time is a construct.
Exactly. But I do think so in that regard, we do have that. But I think it's an interesting, just the whole way they do it is really fascinating. Yeah. The end kind of it was funny. I was watching the show and it got to the end and it kind of threw me a little bit because I thought I missed something, but I was like, oh, apparently no, I didn't. It just is over. Then we'll talk about that here in a minute. But yeah, in terms of the setting, I mean, I think it is meaningful to Richie, and I think there's something there. So I'll be interested to see, like where they go with this, if they go anywhere, or if it's just a one-off. Yeah,
I'm probably thinking it's a one-off, but
Yeah.
I mean, I also don't know why you create a special page for it on Disney Plus, though. So because that's, I mean, I'm no IT guy, but that takes up so. I feel like creating a separate show page takes up more server space than just having a drop down where it says specials. But Disney Plus is not the most. I got to say this carefully so I can still get screeners. Not well put together. I'll just say that. There have been times where they put out a documentary in its own special show page, like the Marvel Studios Assembled stuff, and sometimes they just put it under the extras tab. Anyways, I don't think the location lives up to the show's high bar. I mean, I could maybe see a case for it being made for, Gary's Indiana is just a metaphor for the crucible Mikey and Richie are going through on this trip. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, they've already kind of gone through a crucible later.
At the bear. Yeah.
Is Fishes later or earlier in the timeline? I need somebody to break down the timeline of the bear to me.
Let me think. Is Tiff? This would be. I'm trying to think if Tiff is pregnant in Fishes, and I think she is. I think she's upstairs, so I think this is probably before, because the big spoiler is that Tiff is like ready to pop, and when she calls Richie, it's clear that she's in labor. I mean, like, she's having the baby. If she says something like, I feel like I need to take a shit, and that is, I'm having a baby right now. That's what that is. Having been through the situation, that feeling is baby is coming right now. So she did not make it to 5:15. She had a baby right then. So my guess is that I think timeline. I think this is after Fishes, but within months. Like, it's not far from Fishes. But I could be wrong. I did not rewatch Fishes, so I don't remember if they already have. I don't remember their daughter's name, if she's born yet or not. But I feel like she is upstairs sick, because with like morning sickness at that time. Yeah. Okay, cool. Then it is,
I'd say about 6 months.
Yeah. So we're talking about a short amount of time.
9.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, I just thought that. I mean, maybe the point is it's supposed to be Gary. I mean, it's supposed to be kind of bland so that they can have this episode where they just hash everything out. But I mean, you could have put this anywhere. Like, you could have had Mikey and Richie go to a Cubs game or something and have the same conversations. I don't really feel like Gary, Indiana, really.
The bar of it all, though, it feels like the real setting to me, not Gary necessarily. And like the bar of it does feel like important. And I think, because so many things happen there, and it is this cruddy bar, but we see this dynamic between Mickey and Richie, and they're both like likable in different ways. And I think you kind of get that. Like, Mikey has that immediate, like, kind of factor of like, just all the things about him are just a little bit more charismatic, and Richie's a little more of a slow burn, but like, people like Richie too. And I think it's this interesting thing of like, Mikey comes out and he's the clear like favorite, and then Richie, though, at the end, after Mikey's just cruel to him, like just openly cruel in just some of the worst ways, you have this. I just think it's really interesting because people are even in the bar, on his side. And I think it kind of shows that a little bit to me anyway. That's kind of my take there.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know. Sometimes I think I want more out of the bear than it's willing to give, because you set that high bar in season 1. So I was kind of expecting a return to that, and kind of get it, kind of don't. But again, this is a different type of thing. So maybe I should temper my expectations for meaningful settings there, where it's like, this is just a road trip. It could be Gary, Indiana. It could be Nebraska. It could be a Cubs game. I don't know why Cubs keeps coming up, other than they live in Chicago. I mean, heck, they could go to New York if they wanted to. But anyways, it's a crucible, like I said before. But anyways, I'll stop yapping about this one question because I do want to kind of get into the inner dynamics of the characters. Obviously, we've already kind of talked about his return as Mikey in this episode, but I want to talk more about his interaction with the woman at the bar. I think Sherri is her name.
I believe so, yeah.
How does that scene reframe Mikey at all? Let's just talk about the bathroom scene. What did you think? Let's just get thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely where Bernthal shines, is in that, saying that. In terms of like how it reframes him as a character, I think it just is one of those times where, because this isn't necessarily somebody that he's going to have this like continuing relationship with, I think it allows him to have this like different sense of intimacy, because he like always is pushing away the people who are close to him, and we just see that over and over. I mean, we're told that with him and Carmy, and we see some of that, but like we see it here with Richie, we see it with him and Bob Odenkirk, and a little bit with Donna. I can't remember Odenkirk's character's name, but like we see with the people that are very close to him, he has these like walls up, and with her, because they're not gonna have any kind of like ongoing relationship, he's like super honest and open with her. And I think that does give us some insight as to like how he sees vulnerability and who he chooses to like open up to. And I think that's interesting in and of itself. But yeah, I mean, past that, I don't think we get a whole lot more about who he is, but it like fleshes out who he is.
Yeah, I think it just shows Mikey's desperation at that point for anyone to talk to. Because I think if I had to get inside Mikey's head for a little bit, I don't think Mikey thinks he can talk to Richie about these things, or his family, or anyone about these things, about the thoughts he has, or I mean, we even see it in, I forget the name of the restaurant they stop at. There's some hot dog place they go to in this episode. And you could kind of see it on Mikey's face that he just hates talking about restaurant life. But he's willing to indulge Richie in this moment because you can see Richie's excited about talking to this woman about like how they don't cook when they get home, or I forget exactly the conversation they have. So the conversation he has with Sherri is the first time he's really gotten to open up in the entire series, really. I think we see a little bit of it in Fishes, but I mean, that's more his anxiety talking. That's not him being open and honest. So anyways, yeah, I think that needed to be the focus of the episode, but anyways, I digress. I've said it time and time again. I won't harp on it, but shifting to Richie, how does seeing him before the birth of Eva, which, fun fact, is the name Mikey picks out as one of the names. I saw that on Threads, I think, is that somebody pointed out that Mikey picked the name Eva, because I think, what was the alternate name that Richie had? It was like Alma or something like that, and they make a joke about how, with like a lisp or something, I forget what the name is, but they make a whole joke out of it. It's the only time the bear really gets to be a comedy. But anyways, what did you think of Richie in this episode? Like, we do get to see him before everything kind of goes to shit. I
mean, like, we see how much, and I think this is just the show. This just, again, fleshes out these characters, but we see this person who just desperately wants to belong, particularly with the Berzatto family. Like, I think that's the thing, is he just really, really wants to belong. So he's like pretty jazzed up about go on this road trip. And I think maybe that's part of why Gary can be this like kind of nothing place, is because even that, like, he lives in Chicago, but he's excited to go to Gary. And I think you get a little bit of that, like, just he's so amped to be a part of this group in whatever way he can, that even some little dinky no place like Gary I mean, I could say that I live in West Virginia. So, yeah, it's like I'm allowed. But like, because everywhere here is a no place. But like, I think that kind of just shows who Richie is. He wants to belong, and that's it. So I think that's kind of what we get again from him, is just more a fleshed out version of kind of who we already know.
Yeah, agreed. I forgot about the whole thing where he's so excited because I think when he first steps in the car, he's like, Cicero has given us a mission. He's insistent on that. It's a mission. It's not a road trip or, job or anything, because Mikey, this is the beginning of the dressing down he gets later, is Mikey says to Richie at one point, I think, why are you so excited to go to Gary, Indiana? It's 39 minutes away. It's not like it's a different city. Yeah, you're in a different state, but we're only 30 minutes away from Chicago. Why are you so excited about this? But yeah, Richie is a people person. He wants to belong. We see that in Forks. We see that here. I mean, he lets people draw a red curly mustache on his face for no reason on what should be a professional work trip. And yeah, he allows himself to connect with people. Yeah, Richie is a people person. He desperately wants to belong. He creates he's pouring shots at one point. I did have a question when I was watching. I'm like, where's the bartender? They're going to lose their liquor license. But besides that, he wants to connect with people. That's his modus operandi, is connecting. That's why in season 4, he's obsessing over, I think, what was it, flowers? I think, about how they're placed on the table, what kind of forks and knives they have, and how they're set up on the table, what was it with the facts? How the towel was placed on the arm. He's obsessive about these things because that's how he connects with people, is making sure they have an immaculate experience with the bear. Even when he was staging at, I forget the name, but it closes in season 4. But place Olivia Colman's at,
right?
Maybe his future wife. I don't know. Anyway, here's hoping. You only got 8 more episodes to make it happen, Christopher Storm.
I make it so. Yeah,
make it so. But
anyway. I want a happy ending for Richie. Yeah. Nobody else, but Richie gets a happy ending.
Yeah, I don't think Carmy.
Maybe Sid.
Maybe.
But even Sid. Richie, yes. Give Richie a happy ending. Get him with Jess.
But anyway, outside of those 2 people, we've obviously talked a lot about fishes because I think it does have a lot of significance to that. Do you think this episode, Gary, is a companion piece to that episode?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a really good watch, and it's interesting because like Fishes is just like the whole time, like it is an hour of just, oh my god, like it does not stop ever. And this is pretty, I don't want to say nothing, but like it's even, there's like a tension underneath, but it's just underneath the whole time, and then there's one big explosion that's just like, oh my god. So it's a very different vibe. But yeah, in terms of like how people relate to Mikey, I think it's kind of essential. Yeah, and I think it goes really, really well with Fishes. They're just 2 sides of the exact same person. It's the same guy, and you just see that very clearly.
Yeah, I would put this in a trilogy. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Oh, yeah, I would put this in a trilogy of episodes of Mikey. You could name it the Mikey Trilogy or whatever. Disney Plus could put a collection of them together. Forks, Fishes, Gary.
Yeah,
not in that order necessarily. I'd probably do Fishes, Gary, Forks.
I agree. I would watch it in that order.
Given timeline.
Yep.
But yeah, because Fishes is all really, I mean, yes, it's a lot about Donna.
Right.
But it's the biggest thing in that episode is we learn a crap ton about who Mikey is as a person. And then in Forks, we learn that not the opposite, the same kind of episode for Richie. And obviously Gary is where the 2 kind of coalesce.
Right.
Coalesce. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like if you watch that, you can see kind of the like deterioration of Mikey and the building up of Richie. And these two of like, yeah, two characters who are not the same, but have like similarities. If only that they're both in the orbit of like a legit genius with Carmy and the way that I wish we would get some additional thing with the three of them. I would love to see that just a little more than some of the like short clips, because I really think of these two people who are dealing with this person who's just like massively talented in just a way that neither of them are, like most people are not going to be like. And like anytime you're with them, that's going to cause some kind of friction, just because like, yeah, these are really, it's just different to be with somebody who's just a really high level, when even if you're good, and Mikey's good at what he does, Richie is obviously good at what he does when he's given the opportunity. And I think it's just, yeah, I would love to see that. But like, in terms of that, like, yeah, I think you do maybe like watch Brajol, I guess, as your like fourth in the like little kind of thing. Because that gives you a little bit more of like the three of them, and you know, kind of Carmy too a bit.
Yeah, that's the episode where Carmy, like they show the teachings of Carmy, right? Like where he goes to school and everything.
No, Brajol is like the final episode of season 1, but it's where they're making the Brajol in the episode, and like, gotcha. But I don't know, it just feels like that kind of same thing of like, here's him making this really simple dish that his family's made for a bunch of time, and that Mikey's like, oh, you should do it this way. And it's the place where he's better, I guess, than Carmy. But I think it just, yeah, it kind of shows that little bit of like interaction between the three of them, which again, I would just love to see more of the three of them in the past. I think it would be interesting.
Yeah, I could make a case for that. Like after the finale, the series finale, you could have one episode where it's like, okay, let's fill in all the gaps if we need to. Or even just have like a full uncut version of all the flashbacks where it's just an hour, maybe two. Is that asking for too much? I don't know. Of just the Berzattos hanging out together and seeing what ultimately led to Mikey's suicide. Again, might be asking for too much there, but just something that I would agree with you is essentially what I'm saying. Like a fourth entry in that trilogy, so it'd be like a quadrilogy.
Whatever, we can Hitchhiker's Guide and just call no matter how many books you add to it a trilogy. It's fine.
Yeah, but I think this next question comes as a no-brainer. But what was the most emotionally impactful scene for you?
You say no-brainer, but I'm like torn between the explosion and the bathroom scene, because I think maybe the bathroom scene is the one that does it for me a little bit more, just because the explosion feels like par for the course, I guess, like kind of what you expect to happen. And the bathroom scene is a little bit more of a surprise. And so I think maybe that was the one that worked for me a little bit more, just because it's, again, one of the few times that we really get to see this very vulnerable Mikey in a show where we basically never see that at all. It's like 5 minutes where we really get him at his most vulnerable. And I think that's, yeah, like that is the time where we get the most from him in a way that feels different from everything we've seen.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. The bathroom scene is probably the most impactful. Would have gone the blow up scene where Mikey and Richie, or really Richie's just kind of taking,
he just takes it
full brunt. Mikey's just shouting. Really, I think I wanted a bit more from that scene. I think there's something missing there that I can't quite put my finger on. It just feels like it doesn't feel quite like the dressing down that I thought it would. Like the whole episode's been leading up to this, and then it's just like, especially since we get something after where they're like dropping off what was it, like servos or something like that?
Yeah, it's kind of nothing.
Basically FedEx is, yes, in this period of time FedEx was on strike, which fact check me people, I don't know if that was a thing or not in the real world, but I know there were some strikes, but I think that was UPS, not FedEx. Anyhow, I think we both agree bathroom scene is probably the highlight of the episode.
Yeah.
The lack of better term.
If nothing else, it's the most illuminating scene. It's the most different scene, which is probably why I'd rank it above. Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw people talking about the the unfinished hangman thing, and I'm like, I don't put any thought in that. That's somebody just drawing on a stall.
Yeah.
Like, we need to normalize the fact that not everything is a message. What is there's something my English teacher, or maybe I picked this up elsewhere, but there's a common saying that of this English class discussing, why are the curtains blue? And there's this long, drawn out discussion. And stop me if you've heard this, but turns out the author just wanted the curtains to be blue. He just
sometimes, I mean, okay, fine. There's graffiti in like bar bathroom stalls. Like, that's a pretty common thing. I mean, yeah, okay, cool. You do a hangman because Mikey kills himself. Like, I mean, that's the one you pick. I don't think it means anything other than, I mean, maybe that was a choice to use that as your graffiti instead, but I don't feel like it's anything much beyond that. Yeah, like, it's bar graffiti.
Yeah, it's just like if somebody drew the S, does that automatically mean something? Everyone was drawing in middle school or high school, but that doesn't mean it's a SpongeBob reference or something. Not everything is a reference, people. But any other thoughts on this episode? I guess we haven't answered the big thing, cliffhanger. What do you think that cliffhanger, the car crash Richie gets into, means for season 5?
I genuinely don't know. It just took, like I said, it kind of took me out. I was like, I'm watching, and then I felt like I must have looked away or something, because I was like, wait, did I miss a clip? I was like, did they just decide to like go through like, because obviously they got caught behind the train that they're told to not to, and it threw me a little bit, because I was like, wait, did I miss so I rolled back. I was like, oh no, it's just a time jump, and Richie's and I was like, yeah, so I really don't know what it leads to. I'm kind of interested. It was the same thing. Like, the show opens with that like fiery ground that shows up throughout the episode and isn't like super explained.
Yeah,
I guess
it's just like there.
So like, maybe I'm just dumb and missed something, and that is entirely possible. I am not the details person, generally speaking. So maybe there's something, maybe that's just the aftermath of the crash at the end. I mean, I assume that's what it is, but like, yeah, I'll be interested to see how it plays into season 5. Because I really don't know. I was like trying to remember. I'm like, is he in a crash when he's like going to like the delivery, because obviously he's missed it. Is he so I didn't know where in the timeline that was. So I'll be honest, I'm like, yeah. The end just kind of threw me. I don't know what that was about. Yeah, I guess hopefully maybe we'll find out in like whatever 6 weeks,
a month.
Yeah.
Sure hope so, because that'd be one heck of a hanging chad to leave the series with. I feel like you could have cut that scene, but obviously I think FX took a look at what they had and they said, well, we're about a month out from season 5. Can we just put something from season 5 in there, like a cliffhanger, to make sure people come back? Which, right. I mean, if they're watching Gary, I feel like you're pretty...
You're probably watching, yeah.
Yeah. But anyhow, all right. Well, I don't know what that means for season 5 either. I guess we'll find out in a month, maybe not.
We'll see.
With that, I want to thank everyone for listening or watching. If you're on YouTube or wherever, I'm told Spotify wraps this in video, but I don't know. You can apparently turn that off now. Anyways, thank you all for listening or watching to the Austin B Media podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe wherever you want, leave a rating wherever you want, and review it on your favorite podcast app. And now that you've heard our thoughts on the Gary special, love to hear yours. Join the conversation on social media at austinb.media on Blue Sky and at austinb media on other platforms, or in my Patreon community. $3 a month gets you early access to everything. I'm about to make a pretty decently big announcement on restructuring that whole thing to make sure people get a little bit more bang for their buck. So keep an eye out for that soon. But Alise, where can people find you on the internet?
Basically, everywhere I am at Alise Chaffins dot whatever the thing is. Yeah, my Substack is alisechaffins.substack.com. Yeah, past that, I'm just on all the things as Alise Chaffins. So you can just find me there.
Where they can find your latest reviews on Substack.
Yep.
Which just got like a new thing. Anyways, but anyhow, it's been a real pleasure to have you on for the 7th time. Maybe we can make it number 8 for The Boys season 5. Talk about that, or if that doesn't work out, we could talk about The Bear season 5 in about a month. So,
Heck yeah.
then I've been your host, Austin Belzer, and until next time.